So let me just thank you for the honor of being here to listen to those wonderful stories and your willingness to pour out not only this audience, but now to the greater community, your own life experience and how that of personal advocacy and advocacy for others will translate, I know, to changing many lives. On June 28th in 1973, my mother gave birth to Jason Molinaro. He would have been my older brother. A year later, due to a birth defect, he succumbed and my mother had to say goodbye to her firstborn son. I'm pretty sure that the trauma that she experienced probably resulted in her living with, for many years, what we came to learn at the time was undiagnosed depression. I thought once I was born and a few years later, I started to grow up, I thought everybody's mother slept in till noon on Saturday. It just meant that for me, I got to watch more cartoons. My father and mother didn't necessarily get along after they lost their son. There was trauma in the house, and my parents divorced. That required me to grow up pretty quickly. I many times was on the phone with the telephone company, electric company, and had to tell my friends why on some weeks we only had 7 stations on the television, and UHF being one of them. And for those of you too young, that was that one weird kind of station you could kind of see Davy and Goliath on, I guess. And then some weeks we had all the television channels that you can expect. Were it not for my grandparents who lived across the street or upstairs, I don't know that my mom would have survived as a single mother. But what I can tell you is that some years later, she stood in line at the Department of Social Services, was made to feel very small, worth less, as she applied for food stamps. And as I often joke, I thought every kid in elementary school got a free lunch. But were it not for subsidized lunches and James V. Forrestal Elementary School or food stamps and the love and support of my grandparents, I don't know that my mother would have survived, and I mean that in the starkest of terms. Fast forward to 2011, and I was elected county executive of Dutchess County. I can't tell you how that happened. Over the course of my life, I've just had the privilege of serving in a public office. I think it is a responsibility for all of us. You, as advocates, individually, collectively, are public servants. You're serving the community. You might not have a government title, thank goodness, but you still are public servants. Well, as county executive, it was my job to oversee the very social services department that made my mother feel so very small, but at the same time gave her some opportunity. I'm the proud father of 4 children, one of whom with a significant developmental and intellectual disability. She is supported by Medicaid through the Medicaid waiver program, which is more complicated and unnecessarily difficult. She faces some of the same challenges that maybe you have, which led us to launch an initiative we call Think Differently. Having listened to all of you, you embrace the philosophy of thinking differently, going back out into the community and trying to advocate for those who often don't have their voices heard. I'm going to wrap up in a bit like a Baptist preacher. I might say that 3 times before I finally stop, but I just was overcome by the stories that you told, and I wanted to tell mine. I now serve as a member of Congress. I can assure you my mother, living on food stamps, would never have expected that her son would serve as a member of Congress. Despite ideology or background or party affiliation, length of residency, to whom we pray, I can tell you that my life experience is what drives me now today. To be sure that those who often don't have their voices heard at least have them heard. It doesn't mean we always agree, and it doesn't mean my solution to that problem is your solution to that problem. But what it means is I am too defined by the very challenges that many of the individuals that you will interact with, and some you are. I am motivated by those the challenges that we experience as a young family, young child, to try to make this system better. Which is why the Food Bank of the Southern Tier is so critically important at a moment in time where there are too many living in poverty. Too many living without access to quality food and nutrition, and too many who have to navigate a government system that is meant to provide help, but often is emotionless and without compassion. So I will just tell you that I celebrate those who have accomplished the training tonight, but I wish to join you in celebrating all of your work. I often tell people, whether I agree with them or not, if you are truly earnest and honest about your advocacy, if you truly care about what it is you believe in and you're passionate about standing up for others, you should agitate, you should irritate, and you should advocate others into action. So now I will close that, I have town hall meetings all the time to talk to people when people come in. I am not at all offended by those with whom I might disagree. In fact, I think every good idea is made better by people challenging it. I have never learned anything, or not much of anything, from those who nod in agreement with me. Often, I can tell you, not often, but I know that the greatest lessons that we learn are from our own failures and acknowledging those failures. We live in a time where we dismiss people with whom we disagree simply because we disagree. I can tell you that the work that you're going to do on behalf of the people that need you to speak up, need you to talk to those with whom you might not agree. Listen to their story. Consider their life experience, and then try to move them towards common ground. It's my promise as a member of the House Ag Committee, trying to make food stamps more accessible. I want to confront the benefits cliff that often results in people not accessing simply because they get $1 more than they should. And I certainly think that we ought to have a system of care that truly does care. More emotion, more compassion, more empathy when it comes to dealing with and treating others. So I'll meet you where you are, you meet me where you are, and we will work together to advocate on behalf of those who need their voices heard. God bless you, and thanks very much.